Of all the natural sciences, dragonology is perhaps the most rewarding, being at the same time one of the oldest and the least researched. Dragons have been studied since mankind's earliest days, and yet, paradoxically, they are one of the least known of Earth's creatures. So while many scientists believe that the vast majority of the world's flora and fauna are now understood, in the little known field of dragonology, the way lies open for exciting new discoveries. Here's a letter written by famed dragonologist Dr. Ernest Drake, St. Leonard's Forest, Horsham, April 1904. To whom it may concern, dragonology is the proper study of the dragonologist, or student of dragon lore. Perhaps the most important thing is why such knowledge should never be used against them, and above all, that dragons, like so much of the flora and fauna of this fleeting world of ours, are rare indeed, and it would be a shame to see them disappear forever. So I have set this knowledge down, student dragonologist, not that you might seek out and destroy the few dragons that remain, but that you might learn about them and indeed help them to stay concealed. I have lived among dragons, but my life is almost over, and my final accomplishment as a dragon master is to pass on this knowledge to someone worthy of its keeping. Signed, Ernest Drake. With time and patience, it is possible to build up a bond of trust so that you can study a dragon close to where they live. This map shows the main locations of the primary species. As you can see, there are dragons located in each of the major continents. This map shows a sea serpent living in the ocean. Sea serpents are actually not dragons. They're an entirely different creature altogether. The sea serpent, be it a variation of leviathan, giant squid, or whale, has often been called the dragon of the seas. However, it seems likely that the evolution of these creatures is entirely different from that of true dragons. Among the different species of Western dragons, there are some marked differences that will be noticed by the keen dragonologist. As far as the European dragon is concerned, known to most people through their ability to breathe fire and their love of treasure, the species is now confined to a few remote areas. The European dragon can reach as big as 45 feet long and 13 to 17 feet high. Their forms of attack are flame, tail, claws, and horns. The foods they like to eat are cattle, sheep, or humans, and they'll only eat humans if no other food is available, because to the European dragons, humans taste very bitter. The knucker dragon is found in damp woodland locations near food sources such as rabbit warrens. Serpentine in appearance, these creatures have only vestigial wings and cannot fly. They build their lairs in a deep pond or well known as a knucker hole. The adult knucker dragon reaches 30 feet long and 3 to 6 feet high. Their forms of attack are a venomous bite and constriction. The foods they eat are rabbit, deer, farm animals, and stray children. Although knuckers do hoard treasure, they attack with venom rather than fire. The frost dragon migrates annually between the Arctic to Antarctic regions, flying thousands of miles each year to ensure they spend the greater part of the year in their favored dark winter climates hunting for food. Frost dragons build their lairs in a sea-facing cave hollowed out from a glacier or iceberg. They grow about 40 feet long when they reach adulthood. They mostly come in pure white or sometimes white tinged with blue or pink. Their forms of attack are a fearsome frosty blast, or they'll use their tail, claws, and horns as weapons. Here is a sample of a wing membrane specimen from a frost dragon juvenile. This frost dragon was 24 years old. Here's the differences in height among the different dragons. Here's a human. There's a Chinese long dragon. This is the European dragon. And you'll see the wyvern is the largest sized dragon of all. Eastern dragons. While legends of Western dragons portray them as vicious, bloodthirsty monsters, Eastern dragons are for the most part seen as benevolent helpmeets to mankind. The reasons for this most likely stem from the historical interactions that mankind has had with different species of dragon. Clearly, some have been better neighbors than others. Sadly, in the West, mummers' plays enacting the mutilation and killing of dragons used to be fairly common events at May fairs. In the East, dragons are granted a proper respect. During Chinese festivals, they are often honored with dragon boat races and dragon dances. The Asian Lung, or the Draco orientalis, are most often found near the rivers, streams, and lakes that hide their underwater lairs, using the lairs to store the pearls and opals they hoard away. Females carry their eggs with them for safety. This egg used to be mistaken for a giant pearl. The number of toes varies across the various subspecies. They grow as long as 40 feet upon reaching adulthood and 12 to 15 feet high. Chinese long dragons cannot fly. Their forms of attack are using their horns, their teeth, and their claws. They mainly eat birds and fish. Their scales are large in comparison to their Western counterparts. Here's a specimen of skin shed from a 250-year-old Asian long dragon. Thinner and redder than its counterpart, the Asian long, the Tibetan dragon is a lover of high altitudes. Its main prey is the Himalayan yeti. The Tibetan dragon builds its nest on the open mountainside in the summer or in a shallow den of snow in the winter. They grow as long as 40 feet upon adulthood. The lindworm, the Draco serpentalis. They make their nests in a shallow scratch or nest in the earth out of the wind. Lindworms grow as long as 35 feet long and 8 to 10 feet high. Their forms of attack are using their claws or constriction. Unlike most other dragons, the wyvern has only 2 legs. However, being the largest form of dragon, it finds these perfectly sufficient for carrying off its elephant prey. They mostly build their lairs in a rocky crag or occasionally a circular nest in an area of sand dunes or grass. The wyvern, being the largest of all species of dragon, grow as long as 50 feet long and 18 to 20 feet high. Their forms of attack are teeth, claws, lashing tail, and dropping from great heights. The amphitheory, or the Draco americanus, also known as the feathered serpent, almost certainly inspired the ancient Aztecs in their descriptions of their god Quetzalcoatl. Prominent features of the amphitheory are its hypersensitive eyesight, the feathery frill around its head, its legless serpentine body, very large feathered wings, and its feathery tail. The marsupial dragon, or the Draco marsupialis, is thought to be extinct. It's largely confined to southeastern Australia. It breathes blue smoke and often starts brush fire so that it can catch its prey as it's driven before the flames. The adult dragons reach 25 feet long and 15 to 18 feet high. Their forms of attack are flaming breath, lashing tail, kicking feet, just like a kangaroo, and boxing fists. As you see here, the marsupial dragon rears one young at a time in a fiery pouch. Here's a specimen of a wing membrane from a marsupial dragon who is about 45 years old. Here are the exterior features of the Western European dragon. Figure 1 shows their external skin and external features, including their spines, their wings, their claws, and their tail. And here we have the muscular structure of the dragon. Notice the powerful muscles that are used for its wings. Even though dragons are very muscular and very large, they can fly because their bones are hollow like bird bones. Here are some details found in the head. You have here the horns, the ears, like actually little ear holes, just like a bird, with some external ear features, some cheek horns around the jaw, the nostrils, the fangs. A dragon's fire can reach temperatures of 1,000 degrees. In this cross diagram, you can see how the dragon's flame is produced. Fire breathing is made possible through an adaptation of venom glands, such as those commonly found in cobras or asps. As with snakes, dragon venom comes from two specially adapted teeth, or fangs. Dragons who can breathe fire secrete a piece of flint and a piece of iron pyrite in a special pouch in their mouths, jiggling them to produce a spark to light the venom, which is highly flammable. Dragons have very keen eyesight. Each dragon eye has 6 optic nerves, and they can spot valuable gems from 6,000 feet away. Unlike most reptiles, Western dragons spend much time caring for their egg-incubated young after they hatch, and a firm bond quickly develops between chick and parent. Here are different types of dragon eggs. They look different depending on which species of dragon they come from. Dragons' nests do not need to be soft, for dragons' eggs are highly resilient, but they must be kept warm. Generally, a nesting mother breathes a jet of flame over her eggs every 3 or 4 hours. If you can obtain the eggs, you might like to hatch your own dragon chicks. To keep the eggs warm, you need a nest of live coals, which must be kept burning over a gestation period of 3 years. If you're growing your own dragon, it's very important to keep an adequate food supply. A 40 to 50 acre farm with a head of 300 cows should be enough for one chick. Small treats, such as turkeys, may be used as rewards for an all-important house training because the dragon chick needs to learn that setting fire to your home is not acceptable behavior. Here is an egg within the first 3 months of development. And here we have an egg in 12 months of development. In the second stage, the features become a lot more discernible. In the third stage, an eghorn develops to aid the chick in chipping open its hard shell. At 36 months is when the dragon egg hatches. It discards the eghorn, and then you can see the differences between the male and female dragon. This one's a male, and there's the female. Notice the difference in the size of the horns on top of the head. There, there. And also notice the difference in the tail. There's a female dragon tail, and there's a male dragon tail. Some points to remember when you're raising your own dragons. You must keep iron and flint objects away from chicks, or else live in a fireproof house. Remember to mind your language around young dragon chicks because they may repeat what you say over and over in front of guests. It is not recommended to leave hungry dragons and young children alone. And finally, you must hide all shiny or valuable objects. It's actually very difficult to age dragons. They shed their skins bi or triennially, and they grow a certain amount every year, so it may be possible to make an estimate of their age from their size. Sometimes a dragon's memory of historical events can help. Now, the Chinese dragon, if you see here, it goes beyond 400 years. Chinese dragons have known to live longer than 750 years, and they could possibly live longer than that, but no one really knows. The behavior and feeding habits of dragons have evolved to enable their survival as a species. They share most of these traits with other animals, but two unique habits are dragons' love of hoarding and their ability to speak human language. While there are many theories that relate to the dragon's hoarding imperative, so far no one has found a credible reason for their linguistic abilities. The hoarding behavior of dragons most likely evolved because dragons have a soft, unarmored Achilles spot on their bellies. When they lie on treasure, some of the jewels stick, providing them with protection in their one vulnerable area. The dragons who evolved this hoarding behavior were the ones who survived. Those who did not are no longer with us. Language. This area of dragon behavior is a mystery. They are the only creatures apart from humans who both speak and, when occasion demands, write. Particularly interesting is the Western dragon's well-known taste for riddles and language games. As a result of their interactions with humans, Asian Lung have been known to exhibit tame behaviors. They are quite ready to accept a gift of food, provided that it is of a suitable quality, and some Chinese temples have a monk whose primary task is the preparation of succulent meals for the local dragons. The larger species of dragons seek a mate every 28 years or so. Like the bowerbirds of New Guinea, the male dragon woos a female by creating an elaborate nest decorated with treasures selected to please. A male will attempt to gain favor with his bride by presenting her with a particularly choice gemstone. When tracking dragons, concealment is recommended until a sense of trust has been built up. Sadly, fatalities have resulted from very young, inexperienced dragonologists being too keen to introduce themselves too soon. To the experienced eye, it is easy to tell at once where a dragon's range has been entered and exactly what dragon is being encountered. Some of the signs that you need to look for are footprints and tail swishing marks, burned and scorched trees and undergrowth, small, depleted looking flocks of sheep, frightened villagers with excitable children, a tendency for the locals to eschew jewelry. Over time, student dragonologists will build up their own lists of essential equipment. Here's a basic list: a notebook to preserve all important records. Ideally, it should have a heat-proof cover. A heat-proof pen, ink, and soft sketching pencil. Special heat-protective clothing. Remember, one should take care to take nothing from a dragon, as this will not only cause grave danger to the dragonologist, but may also provoke a fiery retribution to any other people who live in the surrounding area. When approaching an Eastern Lung dragon, less care but more protocol is required than for approaching Western dragons. It may be useful if an assistant stands by to provide water, but the main thing to remember is to retain a highly respectful attitude at all times. While it is nearly always best to study dragons in the field, there may be times when it is necessary to befriend them or to render them temporarily tame. A good example of such a need would be when the location where a dragon dwells is in imminent danger of being overrun by human activities such as mining or logging. In this case, an attempt must be made to move the dragon to another suitable but currently dragon-free location. While there are various methods of taming dragons, they all have a temporary effect on those that were not raised from the egg. Here's a sample of some dragon dust that was collected in 1869. Dragon dust can be collected from the cave walls around the nests of breeding mothers. It condenses from their breath and has a highly soporific effect if mixed with enough dragon blood. Used in quantity, this mixture may even help to pacify fully grown dragons, but under no circumstances should dragon dust be ingested by humans. It is far better to befriend a dragon rather than tame them. Remember, it is possible that a dragon will be angry on recovering from a taming, especially if it was embarrassed or compromised in any way. As they love to hoard, the offer of treasure will at least encourage the ones who can speak to give you a hearing, but especially beware of taking the advice of dragons at face value, as they are incredibly wily. Above all, dragons who can speak seem to love riddles and word games, and traditionally, any human who could outwit them in a riddle contest gained their respect. When studying dragons, remember the dangers and remember that it's only through increasing your knowledge that you will learn the best ways of studying them. Only a few become master dragonologists. Their task is to conserve and protect those few dragons that remain, for who knows how many shall last another century with the human population growing at such an exponential rate. And with them, how many more of Earth's creatures will become extinct until people start to say that they never existed at all, except in our imaginations. Conservation. Undoubtedly, this is by far our most pressing concern. As the Earth becomes more populous, the wild regions that are the home of the dragon become fewer, unless we dragonologists can take the proper steps. These fantastic beasts may disappear from our world altogether, never to be seen again.